I couldn't reach my daughter for 5 days. When I went to her house, I heard scratching under the BD chapter when the phone was cold against my ear. That was the first thing I noticed. The plastic was slick with sweat from my hand, and I had to switch it to the other side. My ear was sore. I had been calling for an hour. Still nothing. I hung up and tried again. The line rang 4 times. 5. 6. Then the voicemail clicked on. You've reached Megan. Leave a message and I'll call you back. I waited for the beep. My mouth was dry. I had to swallow before I could speak. Megan, it's Mom. Please call me. I just want to know you're okay. Please. I hung up. I stared at the phone in my hand. The screen was dark. No notifications. No messages. Nothing for 5 days. 5 days. I tried to remember the last time I talked to her. It was Tuesday. She called me on her lunch break. She was laughing about something her coworker had said. She told me she was happy. She said she had plans for the weekend. She said she would call me Saturday. That was 5 days ago. I looked at the calendar on my wall. Wednesday. It was Wednesday. I had been waiting for her call since Saturday. I gave her Sunday. I gave her Monday. Tuesday passed with no word. Now it was Wednesday morning and I couldn't sit still anymore. I got up from the kitchen table. My legs were stiff. I had been sitting there for hours, drinking coffee I didn't taste, staring at the phone. I walked to the window and looked out at the street. It was a gray day. The sky was heavy with clouds. The trees were bare. It looked like winter, even though it was only October. I thought about all the things that could have happened. She could have lost her phone. She could have been busy with work. She could have been sick. She could have been in the hospital. I pushed that last thought away. I couldn't think like that. But the thoughts kept coming. I pictured her car flipped over on the highway. I pictured her lying in a ditch. I pictured her calling my name and me not answering because I was too busy worrying about nothing. I grabbed my coat. I grabbed my keys. I didn't even turn off the coffee pot. I just walked out the door and got in my car. The drive to her house took 45 minutes. I knew every turn. I had made that drive 100 times since she moved out. She bought the house 2 years ago, a little bungalow on a quiet street. It was her first house. She was so proud of it. She sent me pictures of the empty rooms. She sent me pictures of the garden she wanted to plant. She sent me pictures of the new curtains she bought. I drove too fast. I ran a yellow light. I didn't care. When I turned onto her street, my heart was pounding. I could feel it in my throat. I slowed down as I approached her house. And then I saw it. Her car was in the driveway. The blue Honda Civic. The one I helped her buy. It was parked crooked, half on the grass. The driver's side door was slightly open. Just a crack. Just enough to let the rain in. I pulled up behind it and turned off the engine. The silence was heavy. I sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. I told myself to calm down. I told myself there was a good explanation. Maybe she left her car there and went with a friend. Maybe she was sick and couldn't drive. Maybe she was sleeping and didn't hear her phone. I got out of my car and walked to the front door. The grass was overgrown. It reached my ankles. The edges were brown and dead. The flower beds were full of weeds. She loved her garden. She spent every weekend out there with her gloves and her trowel. She sent me photos of her roses. She sent me photos of the vegetables she grew. But now the garden was dead. The roses were black and withered. The vegetables were rotting on the vine. I knocked on the front door. I waited. No answer. I knocked again, harder. Megan. Megan, it's Mom. Are you there? Silence. I tried the door handle. It turned. The door swung open. I stepped inside. The smell hit me first. It was sour and sweet at the same time. Like milk that had gone bad mixed with something rotting. I covered my nose with my sleeve and called her name again. Megan, baby, are you here? The living room was a mess. The cushions were on the floor. A floor lamp was tipped over, the shade dented. Magazines were scattered everywhere. Her coffee cup was on the table, a brown ring of old coffee at the bottom. There were flies buzzing around it. I walked through the living room and into the kitchen. The smell was stronger there. I opened the refrigerator. The milk had exploded. The carton was bloated and burst open. There was old meat on the shelves. Vegetables that had turned to slime. I closed the door and gagged. Her phone was on the counter. I picked it up. The screen was cracked. It was dead. I tried to turn it on, but nothing happened. I went back to the hallway. There was a bathroom on the right. I pushed the door open. The shower curtain was pulled back. The tub was empty. The towels were on the floor. The medicine cabinet was open, bottles and pills scattered on the sink. I moved down the hallway. There were 2 doors at the end. One was the guest bedroom. The other was her room. The guest bedroom was empty. The bed was made. The closet was closed. Everything looked normal. It was clean and neat. Her bedroom was at the end of the hall. The door was closed. I stopped in front of it. My hand was on the handle. I could hear my own breathing. It was the only sound in the house. And then I heard it scratching coming from behind the door. It was soft at first, like a mouse scratching at a wall. But it got louder, more insistent. Scratch, 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 like nails on wood. My heart stopped. I couldn't breathe. Megan, I whispered. The scratching stopped. I stood there frozen. I wanted to run. I wanted to go back to my car and drive away and pretend this wasn't happening. But she was my daughter. I had to know. I turned the handle and pushed the door open. The room was dark. The curtains were drawn. The air was heavy and hot. I reached for the light switch and flipped it on. The room was trashed. Clothes everywhere. Drawers pulled out and dumped on the floor. The mattress was on the floor. The box spring was leaning against the wall. A jewelry box was broken open and empty. Photos were scattered across the floor. Her TV was smashed. The screen was cracked and dark. But the bed frame was still there. Solid wood. Heavy. The kind that didn't move easily. And from underneath it, I heard the scratching again. I dropped to my knees. My hands were shaking. I pressed my face to the cold floor and looked under the bed. There were 2 eyes staring back at me. Wide. Terrified. Human. It was my daughter. She was tied up under the bed. Her mouth was taped shut with silver duct tape. Her wrists were bound behind her back with zip ties. Her ankles were tied together with rope. Her face was swollen and bruised. Her clothes were torn. She was covered in her own filth. She was shaking so hard I could hear her teeth chattering. I screamed. I scrambled to get her out. I grabbed her arms and tried to pull her toward me. She cried against the tape. The zip ties were cutting into her wrists. Blood was dripping down her fingers. Hold on, baby, I said. Hold on. I'm going to get you out. I looked around the room for something sharp. A knife. Scissors. Anything. There was nothing. I ran back to the kitchen, my legs barely working. I opened every drawer. I threw things on the floor. Finally, I found a knife in the drawer by the sink. A big one. A chef's knife. I ran back to the bedroom. The scratching was still there. But now it was louder. And it wasn't coming from under the bed. It was coming from the corner of the room. I froze. The scratching was coming from the corner. Behind the dresser. Something was there. Something was moving. And then I heard a voice. Low. Guttural. And completely inhuman. Don't move. I couldn't breathe. A hand reached out from under the bed. A man's hand. Dirty. The nails were long and broken. It grabbed my daughter's ankle and pulled her back into the darkness. She screamed against the tape. I lunged forward. I swung the knife into the darkness under the bed. I didn't know what I was hitting. I just swung and swung. I felt the blade connect with something soft. Something that grunted. Something that bled. The hand let go of her ankle. I grabbed her by the shoulders and dragged her out from under the bed. She was limp and heavy, but she was alive. I pulled her into the hallway and slammed the bedroom door shut. I fell against the wall. My whole body was shaking. I couldn't breathe. My daughter was on the floor next to me. She was crying. I was crying. We were both crying. I reached for my phone. It was in my back pocket. My fingers were too clumsy. I dropped it twice before I could dial 911, I said when the operator answered. My daughter. Someone has my daughter. There's a man in her house. He was under the bed. Please send help. The operator told me to stay calm. She asked me for the address. I gave it to her. She told me to stay on the line. I told her I couldn't. I told her I had to protect my daughter. I hung up. I pulled her into my arms. She was shaking uncontrollably. I held her against my chest and rocked her back and forth. Her body was so small, so fragile. I've got you, I said. I've got you. You're safe now. But even as I said it, I could hear the scratching from the bedroom. It was louder now, more frantic. Like something was trying to get out. I looked at the door. It was closed, but I could see the handle turning. Slowly, gently, like someone was testing it. I grabbed the knife and stood up. I positioned myself in front of the door. My daughter was behind me. She was crying. I told her to stay there. I told her not to move. The handle stopped turning. The scratching stopped. Everything was silent. I waited. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 5 minutes. Then I heard the sirens. The police arrived in 4 cars. They surrounded the house. They came in with their guns drawn. I told them about the man under the bed. I told them about the scratching. I told them about the voice. They went into the bedroom. They came out 10 minutes later. The man was gone. There was no blood on the floor. No signs of anyone else. The room was empty. The bed was empty. The only thing they found was the scratch marks. Deep gouges in the wood floor. Right under the bed. They looked at me like I was crazy. They took my daughter to the hospital. They asked her 100 questions. She wouldn't talk. She just stared at the wall and shook. I held her hand the whole time. I didn't let go. When they discharged her, I took her home to my house. I put her in the guest room. I sat next to her bed all night. I watched her sleep. She woke up at 3 a.m. Mom, she said. I leaned closer. I'm here, baby. Mom, she said again. He's still there. What, he's still under the bed? Her eyes were wide, unblinking. He told me. If I told anyone, he would come back. He would find me. He would take me again. She grabbed my arm. Her nails dug into my skin. Please don't leave me, Mom. Please. I won't, I said. I promise. I will never leave you. I held her until she fell asleep again. But I didn't sleep. I sat in that chair all night, watching the door, listening for scratches. I didn't hear anything. But I knew he was out there. Watching. Waiting. And I knew I would do whatever it took to protect my daughter. Even if it cost me my life. That was the end of chapter 1. But it wasn't the end of the story. Because a mother's love is not weak. It is not fragile. It is the strongest force in the world. And when you threaten a mother's child, you threaten the wrong person. I couldn't reach my daughter for 5 days. When I went to her house, I heard scratching under the BD chapter 2. The hospital discharged Megan at 10 a.m. the next morning. They gave her antibiotics for the cuts on her wrists. They gave her sedatives to help her sleep. They told me to watch her for signs of trauma. They told me to call if anything changed. I drove her home in silence. She sat in the passenger seat with her knees pulled up to her chest. She was staring out the window. Her eyes were glassy. She hadn't spoken since she woke up. I wanted to ask her questions. I wanted to know what happened. I wanted to know who did this to her. I wanted to know how long he had been there. I wanted to know why she didn't call for help. But I didn't ask. She wasn't ready. I could see that. I pulled into my driveway and turned off the engine. My house was small. 2 bedrooms, a living room, a kitchen. It was old and creaky. The paint was peeling. The porch sagged in the middle. But it was safe. It was home. I helped Megan out of the car. She was unsteady on her feet. Her legs were weak. She had been tied up for 5 days. She hadn't walked in 5 days. She leaned on me as we walked up the steps. I opened the front door and let her inside. The house smelled like coffee and stale air. I had left the coffee pot on. The water had boiled away. The pot was burnt and smoking. I turned it off and opened a window. Megan sat down on the couch. She looked so small, so broken. She was wearing hospital scrubs because her clothes were ruined. She had lost weight. Her cheekbones were sharp. Her collarbone stuck out. Her eyes were sunken and dark. I'll make you some tea, I said. She didn't respond. I went into the kitchen. My hands were shaking as I filled the kettle. I put a tea bag in a mug. I waited for the water to boil. I stared at the wall and tried to think about nothing. But I couldn't stop thinking about that hand. That voice. Those eyes in the darkness under the bed. I brought the tea to her. She took it with both hands. She stared at it but didn't drink. Megan, I said softly. Can you tell me what happened? Who did this to you? She shook her head. Her jaw was tight. Was it someone you know? I asked. A friend, a coworker. She shook her head again. I need to know, baby. I need to help you. The police need to catch him. She looked up at me. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her lip was trembling. I don't know who he is, she whispered. I never saw his face. Never, I asked. You were there for 5 days. You must have seen something. She shook her head. He wore a mask. A black mask. It covered everything except his eyes. I sat down next to her. I took her hand. It was cold. What did his eyes look like? She flinched. I don't want to talk about it. Please, Megan. I need to know. He had blue eyes, she said. Really blue. Like ice. Like he didn't have a soul. I nodded. I filed that information away. Blue eyes. Ice blue. I would tell the police. What else? I asked. She was quiet for a long time. I didn't push her. He scratched, she finally said. He scratched the floor. All night. Every night. I don't know why. It drove me crazy. Did he say anything? I asked. He said I was his now. He said I belonged to him. He said he was never going to let me go. Her voice cracked. She started to cry. He told me you would come, she said. He said he was waiting for you. I felt cold. A chill ran down my spine. What do you mean he was waiting for me? He said I was bait, she whispered. He said you were the one he really wanted. He just had to get you to come. I pulled my hand away. I stared at her. What are you talking about? I don't know, she said. He didn't explain. He just said you would come. He said you would come, and then he would have both of us. I stood up. I walked to the window and looked out at the street. The neighborhood was quiet. The houses were close together. The neighbors were old. They didn't go out much. I tried to think. Who would want me? I was a widow. I worked at a bookstore. I didn't have any enemies. I didn't have any money. I was nobody. I don't understand, I said. I don't know anyone like that. I don't have any reason for someone to do this. Maybe you don't remember, she said. Maybe it was a long time ago. I turned to look at her. Remember what? She shrugged. Her face was blank. I don't know. He just said you would know. He said you would remember. I felt a headache coming on. A sharp pain behind my eyes. I don't remember anything, I said. I swear I don't. Megan was looking at me strangely. Her eyes were narrow. She was studying me. Mom, she said slowly. Do you remember where we lived before? I blinked. What, before we moved here? Do you remember the house? I frowned. We lived in the city. In the apartment. With the fire escape. She nodded. And before that? I thought about it. I tried to picture it. There was nothing. Just blackness. I don't remember, I said. It doesn't matter. What matters is you're safe now. I walked back to the couch. I sat down next to her. I tried to take her hand again, but she pulled away. Mom, she said. I'm scared. Of what of you? I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. What if something's wrong with you? She said. I can feel it. There's nothing wrong with me, I said. I'm your mother. I love you. I came to save you. She was shaking her head. You came to save me. But you didn't call the police first. You came alone. You walked into a dangerous situation without backup. That's not normal. That's not what a normal person would do. I was scared, I said. I wasn't thinking straight. And then you heard the scratching, she continued. You heard it before you even opened the door. But you didn't leave. You didn't call for help. You went in anyway. She was right. That was strange. I hadn't thought about it. In the moment, it felt natural. But looking back, it was crazy. I should have been scared. I should have run. I had to help you, I said. You were in trouble. She shook her head. That's not the only reason. You were drawn there. You were pulled there. Like you couldn't stop yourself. I didn't answer. I didn't know what to say. The scratching started again. It was coming from the floor. Right under our feet. I felt it vibrate through the soles of my shoes. A steady rhythm. Scratch. 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 Megan jumped up. She backed away from the couch. Her eyes were wide. You hear that? She whispered. I nodded. It's the same, she said. It's the same scratching. It followed us. I got down on my hands and knees. I pressed my ear to the floor. The scratching was faint but clear. It was coming from beneath the house. From the basement. I stood up. I'm going to check the basement. No. Megan grabbed my arm. Don't go. Don't leave me alone. I have to see what it is, I said. I have to make sure it's not him. It is him, she said. It's always him. I'll be right back, I said. Stay here. Lock the door. I pulled my arm away and walked to the kitchen. The basement door was in the back corner. It was a heavy wooden door with a rusty handle. I hadn't opened it in years. I never went down there. It was dark and damp and full of spiders. I turned the handle and pulled the door open. The stairs disappeared into darkness. The scratching was louder now. It echoed up from below. I grabbed a flashlight from the drawer. I flicked it on and shone it down the stairs. The beam cut through the darkness. I could see the concrete floor, the old furnace, the boxes of junk I had stored. And I could see something else. A set of footprints. Fresh footprints in the dust. Large footprints. Man-sized. Heading toward the far corner. I descended the stairs slowly. Each step creaked. The flashlight beam bounced around the room. The scratching continued. It was coming from the corner. Behind the furnace. I walked toward it. My heart was pounding. My palms were sweating. I gripped the flashlight tighter. I turned the corner. There was nothing there. The scratching stopped. I stood in the middle of the basement. The silence was deafening. I could hear my own blood rushing in my ears. I could hear my own breathing. And then I heard the voice. My house, it said. My home. I spun around. No one was there. This is my home, the voice said again. You took it from me. You took everything. Who are you? I shouted. My voice cracked. I sounded like a child. Who am I? The voice laughed. It was a horrible sound. Wet and raspy. Who am I? You should remember. You were there. I don't know what you're talking about, I said. Then let me help you remember. The lights flicked on. The basement was flooded with harsh yellow light. I blinked. My eyes adjusted. And I saw him. He was standing in front of me. Tall and thin. Dressed in black. A black mask covered his face. All I could see were his eyes. Ice blue. Like Megan said. I see you, he said. I've always seen you. He took a step toward me. I backed away. My back hit the wall. I was there, he said. When your husband died. I was the one who pulled him from the wreckage. But you didn't see me. You never saw me. I shook my head. I don't remember that. I don't remember any of that. Of course you don't, he said. You blocked it out. You blocked out a lot of things. The things you did. The things you let happen. What did I do? I asked. My voice was barely a whisper. He tilted his head. His eyes were cold. You gave them away. Who? Your children, he said. The ones before Megan. The ones you couldn't handle. I felt like the ground was falling away from me. I don't have other children. I have one daughter. Only one. He laughed again. That wet, raspy laugh. Keep telling yourself that. He stepped closer. I could smell him now. Earth and rot. I'm the one who got to them, he said. One by one. I found them all. No, I said. That's not true. Do you want to see? He reached into his pocket. He pulled out a photo. It was old and worn. He held it up to my face. It was a picture of a little girl. Dark hair. Green eyes. She was smiling. She looked about 5 years old. I knew that face. I knew it from somewhere. I knew it, but I couldn't place it. She was the first, he said. Her name was Emily. I felt something crack inside me. A memory trying to break through. You named her after your grandmother. I squeezed my eyes shut. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to know. She was your firstborn, he said. But you gave her away. You couldn't handle the screaming. She never stopped screaming. And you just gave her away. I opened my eyes. I was crying. Tears were streaming down my face. That's not true, I said. That's not possible. It is true, he said. And there were more. 2 more. All given away. All forgotten. He was so close now. His face was inches from mine. His eyes were boring into me. And then you found Megan, he said. And you kept her. You kept her for yourself. Like she was your chance to start over. You're lying, I said. You're trying to break me. I'm trying to help you, he said. I'm trying to help you remember who you really are. He pulled off his mask. I gasped. It was my face. The face staring at me was my face. His eyes were my eyes. His nose was my nose. His mouth was my mouth. Because I am you, he said. I screamed. I woke up on the floor of the basement. The lights were off. The flashlight was dead. I was in the dark, alone. I scrambled to my feet. I ran up the stairs. I burst through the kitchen door and slammed it shut behind me. Megan was standing in the kitchen. She was holding a knife. Mom, she said. What happened? You were down there for an hour. I looked at the clock. It had only been 10 minutes. He was there, I said. He was in the basement. I didn't hear anything, she said. There was a mask, I said. He had a mask. Mom, she said slowly. There's no one in the basement. I checked. When you didn't come back, I went down there. There's nothing. Just dust and boxes. I stared at her. My mind was spinning. I was confused. I was scared. I saw him, I said. He was right there. She walked toward me. She touched my face with her hand. Her skin was cold. There's no one, Mom, she said. There's no one here but us. I looked at the knife in her hand. Then why are you holding a knife? I asked. She looked down at it. She looked back up at me. Her face was blank. I was protecting myself, she said. From what? From the scratching, she said. And then I heard it again. Scratch. 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 Coming from inside the walls. Inside the kitchen. Inside the house. We were surrounded. And I realized then that the monster wasn't in the basement. The monster wasn't under the bed. The monster was inside the house. The monster was inside me. I couldn't reach my daughter for 5 days. When I went to her house, I heard scratching under the BD. Chapter 3. I grabbed Megan by the arm and pulled her toward the front door. The scratching was everywhere now. Inside the walls. Under the floorboards. Above the ceiling. It surrounded us like a cage. I didn't care what was real or not anymore. I just needed to get her out. We ran outside. The cold air hit my face. The sky was gray and heavy. It was starting to rain. I didn't stop. I pulled her to the car and pushed her into the passenger seat. I got behind the wheel and started the engine. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely turn the key. Where are we going? Megan asked. Her voice was flat. Empty. Somewhere safe, I said. I drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove. I took back roads. I took highways. I took streets I didn't recognize. I drove for hours. The rain got heavier. The sky got darker. The roads got emptier. Megan didn't speak. She sat in the passenger seat with her knees pulled up to her chest. She stared out the window. The wind was howling. The rain was pounding on the roof of the car. It felt like the end of the world. I pulled off the highway and stopped at a diner. The lights were bright and yellow. They cut through the rain like a beacon. I parked the car and turned off the engine. We need to eat, I said. We need to think. Megan didn't move. I reached over and touched her arm. She flinched. It hurt me more than I could say. Please, baby, I said. Just come inside with me. We'll get some coffee. We'll figure this out. She slowly uncurled her body. She opened the door and stepped out into the rain. I grabbed her hand and led her inside. The diner was almost empty. There was an old man at the counter drinking coffee. There was a waitress behind the register. The bell above the door jingled as we walked in. The waitress smiled at us. It was a tired smile. The kind of smile that had been used too many times. Grab a seat, she said. I'll be right with you. We sat in a booth by the window. The rain was slashing against the glass. The parking lot was empty. The world outside was gray and blurry. I ordered coffee. Megan ordered water. She didn't touch it. I watched her. She was staring at the table. Her fingers were tracing the scratches on the laminate surface. Little gouges and cuts. From 1,000 forgotten meals. It's just wood, I said. It's nothing. She looked up at me. Her eyes were distant. It's everywhere, she said. The scratching. It's always there. Even when we're not in the house. We're safe here, I said. He can't find us here. She shook her head. He doesn't need to find us. He's already with us. I didn't know what to say. I looked out the window. The rain was coming down harder. The wind was shaking the sign above the door. Megan, I said softly. What happened in the basement? Why did you go down there? You told me you didn't hear anything. She looked down at her hands. I lied. Why? Because I heard the scratching, she said. I heard everything. I heard you talking to him. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. You heard us, she nodded. You were arguing. You were screaming. But you were the only voice. You were the only one down there. I shook my head. No. He was there. I saw his face. He had my face. He showed me pictures. He told me things. What things? I hesitated. He told me about other children. Children I had before you. Megan didn't react. She just stared at me with those empty eyes. Do you believe him? She asked. No, I said. Of course not. He's lying. He's trying to confuse me. Is he? Her question hung in the air. I felt like I was drowning. I couldn't breathe. Why are you asking me that? I whispered. Because I don't know what's real anymore, she said. I don't know if I was really under that bed. I don't know if you really saved me. I don't know if any of this is happening. She grabbed my hand. Her grip was strong. Too strong. Mom, she said. I need you to tell me the truth. I need you to tell me who you are. I'm your mother, I said. That's the only truth that matters. Is it? She asked. Because I don't remember you from before. I don't remember the apartment. I don't remember the fire escape. I don't remember a single moment from my childhood before the age of 10. I opened my mouth to speak. Nothing came out. I have memories, she continued. But they're foggy. Like I'm seeing them through a window. I remember a woman. But I don't know if it's you. She pulled her hand away. She leaned back in the booth. She looked so tired. So broken. Tell me the truth, she said. Please. I wanted to tell her. I wanted to open my mouth and let all the words pour out. But there were no words. There was only the scratching. The endless, maddening scratching. The waitress came back with the coffee. She set it down in front of me. The cup was chipped. The coffee was black. Can I get you anything else? She asked. No, I said. Thank you. She walked away. Megan watched her go. She looks like someone I used to know, she said. Who? I don't remember. The rain kept falling. The wind kept blowing. I sipped my coffee. It was bitter. It burned my throat. I didn't care. I needed something to wake me up. I needed to feel something real. I found something, Megan said. When I was in the basement. I looked up. What? A box. A small metal box. It had your name on it. My heart stopped. What was in it? I didn't open it. I was too scared. Where is it? It's still there. In the basement. I put down my coffee. My hands were trembling. I need to see it. No, she said. We can't go back. He's there. He's waiting for us. We don't know that, I said. He could be anywhere. This might be our only chance to find answers. She shook her head vigorously. I'm not going back. I'm not going anywhere near that house. Then I'll go alone, I said. You can't, she said. You can't leave me. I have to, I said. I have to know the truth. She was crying now. Silent tears streaming down her face. The truth will destroy us. Maybe it already has, I said. I left the diner. I left her sitting in the booth. She was staring at the table, tracing the scratches with her finger. I wanted to stay. I wanted to hold her and tell her everything was going to be okay. But I didn't. I got in my car and drove back to the house. The rain was worse now. It was lashing the windshield so hard I could barely see. The wipers couldn't keep up. I had to slow down. I had to squint through the haze. The house looked different in the storm. It was darker. More menacing. The windows were like dead eyes. The porch was like a gaping mouth. The garden was a tangled mess of weeds and thorns. I parked in the driveway and turned off the engine. The silence was overwhelming. The rain was deafening. I sat there for a long time, gripping the steering wheel. I couldn't move. I was frozen. But I forced myself to get out of the car. The front door was still unlocked. I pushed it open and stepped inside. The living room was dark. The lights were off. The lamp was still on the floor. The cushions were still scattered. Everything was just as we left it. I walked to the kitchen. I opened the basement door. The darkness stared back at me like a living thing. I found a flashlight in the drawer. I turned it on. I descended the stairs. The basement was empty. The dust was undisturbed. The footprints were gone. The boxes were piled high against the walls. The furnace hummed quietly in the corner. I walked to the spot where I had stood. The spot where I had seen him. There was nothing there. And then I saw it. A small metal box. Tucked behind the furnace. It was old and rusted. The paint was peeling. There was a name scratched into the lid. My name. I picked it up. It was heavy. I tried to open it. It was locked. I looked around for a key. I searched the floor. I searched the boxes. I searched every corner of the basement. And then I heard a voice. Looking for this. I spun around. He was standing at the top of the stairs. The mask was gone. His face was my face. He held up a key. It glinted in the faint light. Come up here, he said. Let's talk. I didn't move. Come up here, he repeated. Or I'll go find her. I walked up the stairs. My legs were shaking. My heart was pounding. He was waiting for me in the living room. He sat down on the couch. He looked comfortable. He looked at home. Sit down, he said. I didn't move. I said sit down. I sat down in the armchair across from him. I held the box in my lap. He held the key in his hand. Open it, he said. I don't have the key. He tossed it to me. It landed in my lap. I picked it up. It was cold. I put the key in the lock and turned it. The box opened. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. All of children. All of them with my face. One by one, I pulled them out. I recognized them. I recognized every single one. Their names came to me like ghost whispers. Emily. Thomas. Sarah. Daniel. Anna. 5 children. 5 children I had given away. This is not me, I said. I didn't do this. Didn't you? He asked. I looked at the photographs. I looked at the children. I looked at their eyes. They had my eyes. I was young, I said. I couldn't take care of them. He nodded. You were young. You were poor. You were alone. You did what you had to do. But I don't remember, I said. Of course you don't, he said. You blocked it out. You had to. If you remembered, you couldn't have kept Megan. You couldn't have pretended to be a normal mother. I was crying now. I was sobbing. The photographs fell from my hands. They scattered across the floor. Who are you? I asked. Why are you doing this? He leaned forward. His face was inches from mine. I'm the one who took them in, he said. I'm the one who raised them. I'm the one who loved them. He grabbed my wrist. His grip was iron. And I'm the one who watched them die. One by one. Because you never came back for them. I opened my mouth to scream. But no sound came out. Your children, he said. All 5 of them. You gave them away, and they all died. And you never knew. He pulled out another photograph. This one was different. It was a family photo. Him. Me. And 5 smiling children. We could have been a family, he said. You and me and them. But you chose to leave. You chose to forget. He touched my face with his hand. His fingers were cold. So cold. And now you have Megan, he said. Your 6th child. Your one chance to make it right. But you're going to lose her too. No, I said. Yes, he said. Because you're the same person you always were. A woman who runs from pain. A woman who chooses convenience over love. He stood up. He walked to the door. I'm going to take her, he said. I'm going to take her like I took the others. And you're going to do nothing. He opened the door. You'll scratch at the walls, he said. You'll scratch at the floors. But you won't save her. You'll never save her. He walked out into the rain. The door swung shut behind him. I sat on the couch. I held the box in my hands. I stared at the photographs. All those children. All those lost children. I heard the scratching start again. It was coming from the bedroom. From the guest room. From the room where Megan was supposed to be sleeping. But she wasn't there. She was at the diner. She was safe. Wasn't she? I ran to the guest room. I threw open the door. The room was empty. But the walls were covered in scratches. And in the middle of the floor, written in fresh gouges, was a message. I'm inside you. I screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw. I screamed until I couldn't breathe. And then I stopped. Because I heard her voice. My daughter's voice. Coming from inside my head. Mom, she said. Why are you screaming? I turned around. She was standing in the doorway. She was soaking wet. Her hair was plastered to her face. I came back, she said. I couldn't stay away. She walked toward me. She put her hand on my face. Your skin is cold, I said. I know, she said. I've been in the rain. Where did you go? I went for a walk, she said. I needed to think. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Her clothes were torn. Her face was dirty. There was blood under her fingernails. What happened to you? I asked. She smiled. It was a cold smile. A wrong smile. I found him, she said. He was waiting for me by the road. He tried to take me. She held up her hand. The scratches on her palm were fresh. Deep. And they matched the scratches on the wall. Did you hurt him? I asked. She nodded. I think I killed him. I stared at her. This creature in front of me. This woman who was my daughter, but also a stranger. You killed him, I repeated. She smiled again. He won't bother us anymore. No one will ever bother us again. She wrapped her arms around me. She hugged me tight. I'm going to take care of you now, Mom, she whispered. I'm going to make sure you never forget anything again. The scratching stopped. And I realized the truth. There was no man under the bed. There was no voice in the basement. There was no monster in the house. There was only me. And Megan. The one who was sick. The one who was broken. The one who had been scratching all along. She pulled away from me. She was smiling. Let's go home, she said. Let's go back to the house. Let's make it beautiful again. I followed her. Because what else could I do? She was my daughter. And I was the one who made her this way. I couldn't reach my daughter for 5 days. When I went to her house, I heard scratching under the bed. Chapter 4. We drove back to Megan's house in silence. The rain had stopped. The sky was clearing. The sun was trying to break through the clouds. It felt wrong. The world should have stayed dark. The world should have stayed angry. Instead, it was getting peaceful, and that was the most terrifying thing of all. Megan sat in the passenger seat with her hands folded in her lap. She was calm. Too calm. Her breathing was steady. Her face was relaxed. She looked like she had just woken from a long sleep. I kept glancing at her. I couldn't help it. I was looking for signs. Signs of the woman who had just told me she killed a man. Signs of the daughter who had scratched messages into walls. But all I saw was my baby. My little girl. She caught me looking. She smiled. It was a soft smile. A gentle smile. The smile she used to give me when she was a child. What is it, Mom? She asked. I shook my head. Nothing. You're worried about me. I'm always worried about you. She reached over and took my hand. Her skin was warm now. Normal. You don't have to worry anymore. I'm fine. Everything is fine. I pulled into her driveway. The house looked different in the daylight. It was just a house. A little bungalow with a sagging porch and overgrown grass. There was nothing sinister about it. Nothing scary. It was just a place where someone lived. We got out of the car. The air smelled clean. Fresh. The rain had washed away the dust and the dirt. The world felt new. Megan walked to the front door. She pulled out her keys. She unlocked the door and pushed it open. Come on, she said. Let's go inside. I followed her. I didn't want to. Every instinct was screaming at me to run. But I followed her anyway. The house was clean. The living room was neat. The cushions were back on the couch. The lamp was upright. The magazines were stacked on the coffee table. There was no smell. No rot. No decay. What happened? I asked. This wasn't like this before. Megan shrugged. I cleaned it. While you were at the diner. You cleaned the whole house. I had time, she said. I was waiting for you. She walked into the kitchen. I followed her. The dishes were put away. The refrigerator was clean. The counters were wiped. The floor was swept. I looked at her. She was standing by the sink. She was smiling. Do you like it? She asked. I don't understand, I said. How did you do all of this? You were only gone for an hour. She tilted her head. Her smile didn't waver. I work fast. I walked toward her. I was shaking. I didn't want to be in this room. I didn't want to be in this house. But I had to know. The man in the road, I said. The one you killed. What did you do with him? She looked at me blankly. What man? The man you said you found. The one who tried to take you. Her smile faded. She looked confused. Mom, I don't know what you're talking about. I stared at her. My mind was racing. You told me. In the guest room. You said you found him by the road. You said you killed him. She shook her head slowly. I never said that. I've been here the whole time. I was cleaning the house. I didn't go anywhere. What about your clothes? I asked. They were wet. They were torn. She looked down at herself. Her clothes were dry. She was wearing jeans and a sweater. No blood. No dirt. No scratches. You must have been dreaming, Mom, she said softly. You've been under a lot of stress. You're tired. You're not thinking straight. I backed away from her. My hand hit the counter. I gripped the edge to steady myself. I wasn't dreaming, I said. I saw you. You were soaking wet. You had blood under your nails. She looked at her hands. They were clean. Her nails were trimmed. There was no blood. No dirt. Nothing. Megan, I said. What is happening to us? She walked toward me. She put her hands on my shoulders. Her touch was gentle. Reassuring. It's okay, Mom, she said. You're just confused. You need to rest. I can't rest, I said. I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see him. See who? The man under the bed. The man in the basement. The man who wore my face. She looked at me with pity. Mom, there was no man. You were the one under the bed. I felt like I had been slapped. What the police told me, she said. They found you under the bed. You were the one tied up. You were the one covered in filth. You were the one who had been there for 5 days. I shook my head. I was trying to process what she was saying. It didn't make sense. None of it made sense. That's not true, I said. I found you. I pulled you out. I saved you. She shook her head. No, Mom. I found you. I came to your house because you weren't answering your phone. I found you under the bed in the guest room. You were in bad shape. I had to call the ambulance. I remembered the guest room. The clean guest room. The one with the made bed. The one that looked like nobody had touched it. But I had touched it. I had checked it. It was empty. Or was it? You're lying, I said. I was at your house. I saw your car. I saw the rotting food. I saw the newspapers on the porch. Megan's expression didn't change. Mom, my car is in the shop. I've been taking the bus. There haven't been any newspapers on my porch because I put a hold on them while I was staying with you. I opened my mouth to argue, but the words died in my throat. I tried to remember. I tried to piece it together. The memories were crumbling. They were fading like a photograph left in the sun. The scratching, I said. I heard the scratching. Megan nodded. Yes, you were scratching. Under the bed. Your nails were torn. Your fingers were bleeding. I had to bandage them. I looked down at my hands. There were small cuts on my fingers. Scratches. Half healed. I hadn't noticed them before. When I asked. When did you find me yesterday? She said. You were under the bed for 5 days. Just like you said. But it was you. Not me. I felt the room spinning. I grabbed the counter to steady myself. Why don't I remember? I asked. Megan took my hand. She led me to the kitchen table. She sat me down. She poured me a glass of water. You had a breakdown, Mom, she said. You've been struggling for a long time. I tried to help you. But I didn't realize how bad it was. I stared at the glass of water. It looked clean. It looked normal. Am I crazy? I asked. She took my hands in hers. She squeezed them gently. No, Mom. You're not crazy. You're just hurt. You've been holding on to so much pain for so long. It finally caught up with you. I thought about the photographs. The 5 children. The 5 children I had given away. The children, I said. I saw photographs. He showed me. There were 5 children. Megan didn't seem surprised. What children? The ones I gave away. Before you. The ones I forgot. She was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke softly. Mom, I need to tell you something. And I need you to listen very carefully. I looked up at her. Her eyes were steady. Her voice was calm. You had a sister, she said. Her name was Emily. She died when she was 5 years old. She fell down the stairs. And you blamed yourself. I shook my head. No, that's not right. She was my daughter. She was my firstborn. Megan squeezed my hands. She was your sister, Mom. You were only 10 years old when she died. You couldn't have had a child. I felt like I was falling. Like the world was dropping out from under me. The other children, I said. The photographs. Emily. Thomas. Sarah. Daniel. Anna. I saw their faces. Megan looked at me with deep sorrow. Those are the names of your imaginary friends, Mom. You told me about them when I was a child. You said they came to you at night. They kept you company. They helped you feel less alone. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shout that she was wrong. But the words wouldn't come. Because deep down, I knew she was telling the truth. I remembered it now. The games I played. The make-believe family. The children I invented because real children were too painful to think about. Emily was my sister. My dead sister. And I had taken her memory and twisted it into something else. What happened to me, I asked. My voice was a whisper. You had a psychotic break, she said. The stress of your job. The anniversary of the car crash. The isolation. It all built up. And you retreated into a world where you were the mother. You were the protector. You were the one in control. She let go of my hands. She leaned back in her chair. But that world wasn't real, Mom. It was never real. I looked around the kitchen. It was clean. It was neat. It was normal. But it felt like a cage. The scratches, I said. The ones on the floor. The ones on the walls. I saw them. I heard them. They were yours, she said. You scratched them. You were trying to get out. But you were trapped inside your own mind. She stood up. She walked to the counter. She opened a drawer and pulled out a bundle of bandages. Let me see your hands, she said. I held out my hands. She unrolled the bandages. She wrapped them around my fingers. Her movements were gentle. Motherly. I'm going to take care of you now, she said. I'm going to make sure you never hurt yourself again. I looked at her. My daughter. My sweet, perfect daughter. You killed him, I said. She looked at me. She didn't deny it. He's not coming back, she said. No one is coming back. Why would you do that? I asked. Why would you hurt him? She knelt in front of me. She took my hands again. Because he hurt you, she said. He made you sick. He made you sad. He made you forget who you are. I stared into her eyes. They were blue. Ice blue. The same blue as the man's eyes. He called you Mom, I said. Didn't he? She didn't answer. But I knew. I knew the truth. Megan wasn't my daughter. She had never been my daughter. She was the woman who found me. The woman who took me in. The woman who decided I was worth saving. And I had given her a mother's love in return. It was a love that was real. A love that was true. A love that had no conditions. But it was built on a lie. And now that lie was crumbling. Megan stood up. She walked to the window. She looked out at the street. The man you saw, she said. The one with your face. He was real. But he wasn't a monster. He was your therapist. Dr. Miller. He was trying to help you. I felt a jolt. The name. I knew that name. You killed him, I said. She turned to face me. Her expression was cold. Unreadable. He was hurting you, she said. He was making you relive things you didn't need to remember. He was poisoning your mind. I had to stop him. Where is his body? I asked. She smiled. He's under the bed. The scratching started again. It was coming from the bedroom. From the guest room. From under the bed. I stood up. I walked toward the door. Megan didn't stop me. I walked down the hallway. I pushed open the door to the guest room. The bed was there. The frame was solid. Heavy. I knelt down. I looked under the bed. There was a body. A man's body. His throat was cut. His eyes were open. Ice blue eyes. Dr. Miller. And next to him, scratched into the floor, were the names of all 5 imaginary children. Emily. Thomas. Sarah. Daniel. Anna. My sister. And the 4 friends I had invented to survive. Megan appeared in the doorway. She was holding a knife. The same knife I had used to free her. He loved you, she said. But his love was hurting you. So I saved you. I stood up. I faced her. You're not my daughter, I said. She shook her head. I know. Who are you? She smiled. It was the same smile. The gentle, comforting smile. I'm the one who found you, she said. I'm the one who cleaned you up. I'm the one who gave you a reason to live. She stepped toward me. And I will never let anyone take that away from you. Not even yourself. I looked at the knife in her hand. I looked at the body under the bed. I looked at the scratches on the floor. And I finally understood. The monster wasn't under the bed. The monster wasn't in the basement. The monster wasn't in my head. The monster was standing right in front of me. And she loved me more than anyone else ever had. I took a step toward her. I love you, Mom, she said. I took the knife from her hand. I love you too, I said. And then I turned and walked into the light. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Because I knew she would follow. I couldn't reach my daughter for 5 days. When I went to her house, I heard scratching under the BD Chapter 5. I walked out of the house and into the light. The sun was fully out now. The rain was gone. The sky was clear and blue. It was a beautiful day. A day made for picnics and walks in the park. A day for normal people doing normal things. I was not a normal person. I was standing in a front yard with a knife in my hand and blood on my shoes. I was a woman who had just discovered that everything she believed about her life was a lie. I was a woman who had been lost for so long she didn't know which way was home. Megan followed me out of the house. She stood on the porch. She was smiling. That same gentle smile. The smile that had comforted me through so many sleepless nights. Where are you going, Mom? She asked. I didn't answer. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to keep moving. I had to get away. You can't leave, she said. You need me. I take care of you. I keep you safe. I turned to look at her. She was still holding the knife. Her fingers were wrapped around the handle like it belonged there. Like it was an extension of her hand. You killed him, I said. You killed my therapist. You killed a man who was trying to help me. She tilted her head. The smile didn't waver. He wasn't helping you. He was making you worse. He was digging up things that should have stayed buried. He was giving me answers, I said. He was helping me remember. Remember what? She asked. The imaginary children, the sister who died. You don't need to remember those things. They only cause you pain. I looked down at the knife in my hand. I had taken it from her. I had taken it without thinking. It was instinct. The same instinct that had made me go to her house. The same instinct that had made me crawl under the bed. I threw the knife into the grass. It landed with a soft thud. It glinted in the sunlight. I don't want to hurt anyone, I said. I know, she said. You're not a violent person. That's why I have to protect you. You can't protect yourself. I walked away. I walked down the driveway. I walked to my car. I opened the door and got in. I started the engine. I looked in the rearview mirror. Megan was still standing on the porch. She was still smiling. I drove away. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove. I took back roads. I took highways. I took streets I had never seen before. I drove until the sun was high in the sky. I drove until my hands stopped shaking. I pulled over at a rest stop. I sat in my car and stared at nothing. The parking lot was empty. The building was closed. There was a sign on the door that said, "Closed for renovations." I was alone. I reached into my pocket. The metal box was still there. I had taken it with me. I pulled it out and opened it. The photographs were inside. Emily, Thomas, Sarah, Daniel, Anna. 5 children who had never existed. 5 ghosts I had created to fill the void. I looked at them more closely now. I could see the details. The clothes they wore. The backgrounds. The lighting. They were all from different times. Different eras. Emily was in black and white. Thomas was in faded color. Sarah was in a school portrait. Daniel was in a hospital bed. Anna was in a garden. None of them were real. But they felt real. They felt more real than the woman who called herself my daughter. I closed the box. I put it on the passenger seat. I closed my eyes. I tried to remember the real things. The true things. The things that had actually happened. I remembered the crash. The car crash that killed my husband. I was in the passenger seat. He was driving. We were on the highway. It was raining. The car hydroplaned. We spun out. We hit a tree. I remembered waking up in the hospital. The doctors told me my husband was dead. They told me I was lucky to be alive. They told me I had broken bones and internal injuries and a concussion. They told me I would recover. But I didn't recover. Not really. I went home to an empty house. I slept in an empty bed. I ate alone. I talked to myself. I started inventing company. I started inventing children. Emily was the first. She came to me in a dream. She was 5 years old. She had dark hair and green eyes. She called me mommy. She told me she was my daughter. She told me I had to take care of her. I believed her. I believed her because I needed to. I needed someone to love. I needed someone to love me. I needed a reason to get out of bed in the morning. So I created a world where I was a mother. A good mother. A mother who would never abandon her children. A mother who would protect them from everything. But it wasn't real. None of it was real. And now I was paying the price for my delusion. I opened my eyes. I looked at the closed rest stop. I looked at the empty parking lot. I was alone. I had always been alone. But I wasn't really alone. Because Megan was still out there. Megan was still waiting for me. Megan was still loving me in her own twisted way. I started the car. I drove back to her house. The sun was setting when I arrived. The sky was orange and pink. The clouds were streaked with gold. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. It was everything I didn't deserve. The front door was open. I walked inside. The house was quiet. The lights were off. The living room was dark. Megan, I called. No answer. I walked through the house. The kitchen was empty. The bathroom was empty. The guest room was empty. I walked to her bedroom. The door was closed. I pushed it open. She was sitting on the bed. She was holding a photograph. It was a picture of me. I was young. I was smiling. I was holding a baby. Is that me? I asked. She looked up at me. Her eyes were wet. She had been crying. It's you, she said. It's you and me. I walked closer. I looked at the photograph. The baby was wrapped in a white blanket. The baby had dark hair. The baby had green eyes. Green eyes. Not blue. Not like Megan's. That's not you, I said. She didn't answer. Who is that? I asked. Who is that baby? She looked down at the photograph. She traced the baby's face with her finger. It's Emily, she said. Your sister. I felt like I had been punched. I stumbled backward. I hit the wall. What? She looked up at me. Her face was pale. Her eyes were haunted. Emily was my mother, she said. Your sister. The one who died. She was my mother. I shook my head. I couldn't process it. I couldn't understand. She was 15 when she had me, Megan said. She was too young. She couldn't take care of me. So she gave me away. She gave me to a family who could. I slid down the wall. I landed on the floor. My legs wouldn't hold me. I didn't know, I said. I didn't remember any of this. I know, she said. That's why I came back. I came back to find you. I came back to help you remember. She stood up. She walked toward me. She knelt in front of me. You're my aunt, she said. My mother's sister. You're the only family I have left. I looked at her. Her face. Her eyes. Her smile. She looked nothing like the baby in the photograph. The baby had green eyes. Megan had blue eyes. I don't understand, I said. She reached into her pocket. She pulled out a second photograph. It was a picture of a young woman. She had dark hair and green eyes. She was smiling. That's Emily, she said. That's my mother. I looked at the photograph. I looked at Megan. The woman in the photograph was beautiful. She was young. She was happy. But her eyes were green. And so were mine. You're not related to her, I said. Your eyes are blue. Megan smiled. I wear contacts, she said. I wanted to look like you. I wanted to be your daughter. She reached up and pulled out one of her contacts. Her eye was brown. Plain brown. Ordinary. I'm not your daughter, she said. I never was. I'm just a girl who was looking for a mother. And you were a mother looking for a child. We found each other. I stared at her. This strange, wonderful, terrifying woman. This woman who had killed for me. This woman who had loved me with a love that was too fierce, too possessive, too consuming. Or why didn't you tell me? I asked. She shook her head. Because I was scared. I was scared you would leave. I was scared you would stop loving me. I was scared I would be alone again. You're not alone, I said. You have me. She looked at me with those mismatched eyes. One brown. One blue. But you're sick, Mom. You're so sick. And I can't fix you. I've tried everything. But I can't fix you. Maybe I don't need to be fixed, I said. She laughed. It was a hollow sound. Of course you do. You see things that aren't there. You hear things that aren't real. You think I'm your daughter when I'm not. You need help. Then get me help, I said. Take me to a doctor. Take me to a hospital. She shook her head. I can't do that. They'll take you away from me. They'll put you in a place where I can't see you. I won't let that happen. Megan, I said. I need help. Real help. From real doctors. No, she said. No doctors. No hospitals. Just us. She grabbed my hands. Her grip was fierce. Desperate. Just us, she repeated. We don't need anyone else. We have each other. That's all we need. I looked into her eyes. One brown. One blue. Both of them full of love. Both of them full of fear. I knew then what I had to do. I reached out and touched her face. I brushed the hair back from her forehead. I traced the curve of her cheek. You saved me, I said. When you found me under that bed. You saved my life. She nodded. Tears were streaming down her face. But I can't live in this world anymore, I said. I can't keep pretending. I can't keep hiding. Don't say that, she said. Please don't say that. I'm sorry, I said. I'm so sorry. I pulled away from her. I stood up. I walked to the window. I'm going to call the police, I said. I'm going to tell them what happened. I'm going to tell them about Dr. Miller. I'm going to tell them everything. She stood up. Her face was a mask of grief and rage. You can't do that, she said. You can't betray me. I love you. I love you more than anything. I love you too, I said. That's why I have to do this. I pulled out my phone. I dialed 911. Megan screamed. It was a primal sound. It was a sound of pure agony. She lunged at me. She grabbed my arm. The phone flew out of my hand and skittered across the floor. You can't call them, she said. You can't leave me. I'm not leaving you, I said. I'm helping you. I'm getting us both help. She shook her head violently. No. 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 The scratching started again. It was coming from the walls. From the floor. From everywhere. It was loud and frantic and desperate. It was the sound of a mind breaking. I can't stay here, I said. I can't live like this. Then I'll live like this for you, she said. I'll carry the weight. I'll take the pain. Just stay. Please stay. I looked at her. She was on her knees. She was begging. She was crying. And for a moment, I almost gave in. I almost stayed. But then I remembered the photographs. The children. The sister. The therapist. The blood. I had been lost for so long. I had been trapped in a world that wasn't real. And I couldn't go back. I love you, I said. But I can't stay. I walked out of the room. I walked down the hallway. I walked to the front door. She followed me. She was still crying. Still pleading. Please don't go, she said. Please. I opened the door. I stepped outside. The air was cool. The night was dark. The stars were out. I looked back at her one last time. Goodbye, I said. And then I walked away. I didn't look back again. I walked to my car. I got in. I drove to the police station. I told them everything. About Dr. Miller. About the body under the bed. About the woman who called herself my daughter. They arrested her. They took her away. They put her in a facility where she could get the help she needed. And I checked myself into the hospital. I started seeing a real therapist. I started taking medication. I started remembering the real things. The things I had hidden from myself for so long. It was hard. It was painful. But it was real. And that made all the difference. Sometimes I still hear scratching. Late at night. When I'm alone. When I'm trying to sleep. But now I know what it is. It's the sound of a woman who is lost. A woman who is broken. A woman who found a way to survive. It's the sound of me. I'm okay now. I'm not perfect. I'm not fixed. But I'm okay. And that's enough. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental illness, please get help. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are not beyond saving. Reach out. Call someone. Talk to someone. There is help. There is hope. And remember, the scratching you hear might just be the sound of your own heart, still beating, still fighting, still refusing to give up. Subscribe for more stories that remind us we are human. And never forget, You are never truly alone. I think about her sometimes. On quiet nights when the house settles and the floorboards creak. I think about the way she looked at me that last night. One brown eye and one blue. Both of them full of a love that was too big for this world. She was never my daughter. I knew that now. But she was something else. She was the mirror that showed me all the parts of myself I had tried to bury. The hospital helped me untangle the threads. They told me about dissociative disorders, about trauma and grief and the strange ways the mind protects itself. They told me I had spent years running from a pain that was always going to catch up. And when it did, it wore her face. It wore the face of a savior, a protector, a daughter who would never leave. I see her sometimes, in the reflection of a window, in the shadow of a doorway. She waves. She smiles. She doesn't speak. I don't know if she is real or if my mind still plays tricks on me. I don't know if I will ever know the truth. But I have made peace with that. I have made peace with the scratches that still appear on my walls. I have made peace with the late-night sounds that wake me from sleep. Because I understand now what they are. They are the echoes of a woman who loved so fiercely she forgot where she ended and I began. They are the marks of someone who refused to let go, even when holding on was destroying us both. Dr. Miller's body was found. They gave him a proper funeral. I went. I sat in the back row and I cried for the man who tried to save me and paid the ultimate price. Megan is in a facility now. She writes me letters sometimes. I don't read them. I keep them in a box. I keep them with the photographs. The children who were never real. The sister who died too young. The love that was never quite right but was always true. I have started volunteering at a community center. I help people who are where I used to be. Lost. Broken. Afraid. I tell them my story. I tell them about the scratching and the lies and the woman who wore my daughter's face. I tell them that recovery is not a straight line. It is a series of scratches in the floor. 1,000 small marks that lead you back to yourself. The doctors say I am stable. They say I am no longer a danger to myself or to others. They say I have made remarkable progress. And I have. But I also know that grief does not disappear. It just becomes a part of you. Like a scar. Like a memory. Like a scratch on the wall that you have learned to live with. Tonight I am sitting in my living room. The lights are low. The house is quiet. I am looking at the wall above my couch. It is covered in scratches from a time I don't fully remember. They form a pattern now. A kind of map. A message from the woman I used to be to the woman I am becoming. I touch them with my fingers. They are rough. Uneven. Real. And I realize that I am not afraid anymore. I am not afraid of the scratches. I am not afraid of the silence. I am not afraid of the woman in the mirror. Because she is me. All of her. The broken parts. The healed parts. The parts that are still scratching. And I am going to be okay. That is the ending. That is the truth. That is the sound of a mother's love, finally at peace. If this story moved you, please share it. Someone out there needs to know they are not alone. Someone out there needs to hear that the scratching does not have to be the end. It can be the beginning. Subscribe. Stay with us. And remember, the scariest monsters are not the ones under the bed. They are the ones we carry inside. But they can be faced. They can be healed. They can be loved. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying. And thank you for believing in the power of a story to save a life. I will see you in the next one. Keep fighting. Keep scratching. Keep surviving.